Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TNT Podcast. Here we are with Tuna, Roddy, Sam. Very lovely to see you all, guys. How you hanging? How's it hanging?
It's good. Not bad at all.
Good.
Can't complain.
Roddy, I think Roddy's going on speakers right now. He's listening. Are you listening on desktop speakers there, Roddy?
No, I've got my Bose. Is it echoing?
No, you're good.
Not at all.
You sound really good.
Sounds good. There we
Sweet.
go. All right. Roddy's joining us from his fancy new office there. I love the wall art there, buddy. That's impressive. I like. Nicely
Thanks.
done.
Thank
Nicely
you.
done. Okay, so this, I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've talked tech, but I think the elephant in the room has to be addressed. And if you haven't listened, if you've been living under a rock, then you probably haven't heard that Apple had a big product release this past week, and actually a couple of big things. And we'll talk software as well, but the big, massive hardware release that has very polarizing reception has been the Vision Pro. Now, I don't know, Sam, I just wanted to talk to you quickly because I think you might have said somewhere a couple of weeks back that you thought it might have been called something like the Vision or Vision Plus or Vision Ultra. I think it might have been you.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to go look back and see. But I guess I'm glad that they didn't go with some kind of an I something or another. I'm kind of glad they decided to go with something a little bit more or less, I whatever, like a little bit more product friendly name that isn't just like a layup with the I series and something like not iVision or eye candy or something like that, or I see
eye candy.
Yeah, whatever, eye candy. Something.
I like that.
Yeah, something like that. So I'm glad they steered away from that for this device.
So again, I'm just going to pull up an image here so we can see what we're talking about. So this is the Apple Vision Pro. So essentially, most people, I think most consumers would not be unfamiliar with the concept of a VR, AR headset. They've been around now for what, maybe 5-7 years, give or take.
Yeah.
And, once upon a time, you used to actually plug in your cell phone into this, contraption, which essentially was just two magnifying glasses that made your picture big. But this product is a little bit different, and Apple's kind of coming out of the gate swinging here by, doing a very Apple thing, taking existing technology like the HTC Vive, is it?
Sure.
I forget what it is.
Sure.
Vive, yeah.
And the the Meta Facebook incoming Oculus. So they've basically taken an existing formula and they've gone, what can we do to make it better? And how can we charge a premium price for it? And that's exactly what Apple's done here. So they've created essentially this immersive, interactive, and essentially what Apple is saying it's going to do, it's going to be a mixed reality headset, promising a new era of spatial computing. Tuna, what do you think, buddy?
I think hardware-wise, it's going to be nailed. I think it's going to be fantastic. I don't understand the idea of having an LCD screen where you can see the eyes because most of the situations they showed, you're by yourself. So why would you want to see someone's eyes? It doesn't look like much different than most VR headsets. My issue is the price. I think the majority of the consumers are not going to buy it, and I don't think it's aimed at the general consumer. Before we go any further than that, my issue is I have a Quest, whatever you want to call it, Oculus, you want to call it Meta, the two, and it's great. It's got black and white cameras, so you can see outside when you're trying to generate your area where you play in. The Quest 3 or the Meta 3, whatever you want to call it, is going to have 3 cameras in the front. It's going to have color pass through. It's not going to have a lens, but it's not $3,500. And in September, they're going to offer it for $499, or so they say.
Yeah.
For $499, I mean,
comparatively,
compare in the amount of software and stuff they're going to have offered game wise. Now, I don't think Apple's solely aiming at the gaming front. I'm not fully invested in the Apple ecosystem. So I don't have an iPhone. I don't have an iPad right now. Don't have an iWatch. So for me, I don't have a MacBook. So if I want to see my system out here, I'm going to have to get what is it? Sam might know the holodeck or whatever it's called. Their Microsoft's version of it.
The HoloLens,
Yeah. So it's something like this, which is not offered to the public right now. I mean, I think this is something for an Apple user, but it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to flaunt this. I have the cash.
It's the ultimate flex.
I'm going to bypass a couple months of mortgage payments, depending on where you live, and I'm going to buy this. For me, it's not going to have 2 hours battery life, and they taunt watching movies. I don't know a movie anymore that's made that's 2 hours. I shouldn't say. I mean, I think John Wick was less than 2 hours, but anyways, most movies are more than that, and the battery is separate. To me, it's going to push the whole genre of VR and AR forward. I think Meta has a little bit of a lead based on their time in the field, but they have a negative. People don't like Meta. They don't like Facebook. They don't like Mark Zuckerberg. But at the same time, my Quest 2 has been nothing but great, and I love it. And it has controllers, if that's what you see. But they have hand tracking too. Everyone forgets that. They don't have eye tracking. But I don't know if before we go next people, I saw an article where someone who wore it for a long extended period of time. They had like red, I don't know if it's burn marks or some kind of like.
From the pressure of the.
They're saying it's from the eye tracking cameras. I don't know if that's true.
Huh.
And I can't verify that. I forget who it was, but there's someone who wore it for an extended period of time, so they had some eye, but you're going to have this with any new product. Everyone's going to say something. It might be this affects certain people, but again, it's a great product. It's going to push that whole genre forward. But I think at this price, it's a Gen 1 product. Apple's going to nail it. I think second gen, third gen. I mean, we all read articles. The first Apple Watch didn't sell very well until it was proof of concept. So let's see what happens. I think it's going to push. We got the Samsung XR coming hopefully this year sometime or early next year, which could do some stuff. But I think most of those products are more aimed at gaming and not necessarily productivity. But we'll see. Maybe this will make them pivot a little bit.
I think what's interesting, I mean, listen, we'll get back to price. The price is fucking astronomical. We'll talk about that. But I think what's interesting here, and I think what we can take away from it is that I think Apple is trying to push this new vision for the company. And I think this is really what a lot of people are not seeing, in that they want to make personal computing very personal. They want to make it the type of thing where it's immersive. You're there in the space, but you're also able to be present in the space. So they want you to be able to have these massive screens and be able to access all of the apps and stuff that you would normally associate with, I guess this VR, whatever content. I think what a lot of people, the reason it won't be appealing to everybody yet is that I think a lot of people are just waiting to see, is this going to catch on? Like, is this what the vision Apple has for their future of their products? Because I think if let's just fast forward 10 years down the line, this potentially could replace the iPhone.
It could.
It could. We put it on. It has access to all our apps. We can make phone calls. We can do FaceTime calls. It'll get smaller. It'll get better battery. It could get more efficient. This could be the future of smartphone and mobile computing.
Well, and how many times has Apple took an Android feature or any other feature from some other company, and it's been, oh my God, this is brand new, because people don't realize it because they don't use those other products. So I think VR has been around forever, but now they're going to say, oh, this is not VR. This is Apple Vision
mixed
Pro.
Reality? What they call it? There's a bullshit term for it. Hang on, let me find it. I believe it's called mixed reality headset. Reality headset.
Real original there,
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. Well, I mean, listen, let's just talk about what you were talking about with the eye thing, because I fucking have to touch on this. So for the people that are listening at home, essentially what this does is when you have it on, it shows the outside world a live feed of your eyes, and it projects it on an outer screen, which is fucking super creepy.
Now, hold on. I was told that was done by accident. I don't believe it. Like it's something like it's like the reverse of the screen or something. I'm like, whatever.
Right. Now, I don't know. Like, I mean, okay, I get it. I understand why you might want to have that feature because it allows people to see that you're engaging with something. So they come and wave their hand in front of you. It doesn't look as creepy as you looking behind this visor, so they can't see anything. I mean, I saw the release video here, and I was like, is that a real thing? Like, are they fucking with us, Apple? Like, is this actually a real feature? But then, yeah, like the reviewers, people that have had hands-on have seen this. And I mean, you've probably seen the photographs. I haven't got a photograph of the actual eyes showing through here, but I mean, there's a lot of crazy things that allegedly this can do, right? But again, I think what a lot of people are getting caught up on is that I think they're not understanding the product category. I don't think this is a product category. I think it's its own product category. Right. Like we're talking, most VR headsets, usually need to have some kind of like source where it's getting the information from. So a smartphone or connecting it up to a tablet or whatever. But here is Apple coming out and saying, we're essentially building a computer into a headset and we're allowing you to do everything that your phone can do and everything that your MacBook can do.
Well, and that's where the Meta Quest 3 is so amazing because it's got upgraded features. It runs on it's self-run. Now, is it powerful as the M2? Probably not, but it's not aimed at that. But it doesn't have 4K screens. It doesn't have, I don't know if it has eye tracking. If it does, it's not as advanced. But I think you're right. It's its own generation. It's a computer on a screen. But I'm not invested in Mac anything. So for me, it's like, what's the point? I guess.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I mean, I think if I don't have a MacBook, what's the point? It's not going to work with Windows. It's not going to work with a PC.
Well, it's funny. Like I think one of the things that caught my attention, and I'll throw it over to Sam. I think where a lot of people are going to really like the Vision Pro, as the name might imply, is actually the screens because they're saying it's like ultra high resolution. I think they said off the top of my head, 23 million pixels across 2 displays or something like that. Like that's fucking
90 hertz, I think too.
Yeah, 90. Like that's big. Like that's a big number. That's a massive, vibrant, sharp screen on what you're seeing with your own vision, right?
Yeah, but $3,500, you better damn well get something like that.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? Yeah.
Come on.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see what developers do with this thing. Like, is it going to just be Apple's apps and that's it? Because developers are like, this thing's fucking crazy expensive. It's not worth the time to invest our money and effort into it. And then kind of just say, hey, fuck it, whatever. Like we'll just use Apple apps. Listen, I don't even use most of the Apple's apps. So if that's all it's going to be, I'm definitely not buying it, right? So, I mean, I'm thinking gaming would be really cool. Watching some Netflix would be really cool. I think FaceTime calls, I know that's super creepy because they map your face digitally and create like an avatar.
That's weird.
I'm very curious to see in the reviews how that looks because I have a funny feeling it's going to look goofy as fuck. But I think it might actually be an interesting feature to have. But yeah, it's an interesting. Sam, what are your thoughts on it? When you first saw it, were you just like they've lost their fucking mind?
No, actually, it's a pretty fascinating piece of technology. But we have to understand what this really is. This is a development kit. This is a dev kit. This isn't a consumer product.
100%.
It's not.
Yeah.
So okay. So when PlayStation has a PS4 or PS5, they have what's called a dev kit. They take that hardware and they give it to a bunch of developers so they can write software and games, EA and all these people, right? That's what this is. And mixed reality is a thing because you have two different components of this, right? You have VR, which is what Vive uses. So a VR headset is building an entire world in a program, right?
Yes.
It's totally built. That's what HTC Vive and Oculus uses because that's why you notice the visor is closed. It's a completely shut down system. So the problem with those systems are, one, you need a whole lot of power to run them. Two, you need a lot of compute power to make the polygons look real. And the problem is there's also this thing with VR headsets where a lot of people experience motion nausea.
Yes.
Because the world is not. Because remember, your brain has to see the real world, right? There's a disconnect in your mind. So what happens is a lot of people, because the motion doesn't match exactly quickly enough because this technology is new. A lot of people can't use a VR headset because it makes them physically ill. They'll throw up.
Yeah.
So that's when you have HoloLens. So if you've ever looked at a HoloLens is not, that's augmented reality, AR.
Yes.
So it's using the actual world you see. The visor itself is frosted like this, right? It's using frosted visor, and it's putting computer elements in. So like you're looking at a wall, you're able to put, that's what that is. So that's augmented reality. That's taking it and putting, like, for instance, the HoloLens I got a chance to take a look at and play with for about 20 minutes one day at a store. You basically had Outlook and you could put it on the wall, right? The Outlook window. And then you could look to the floor and you could put Netflix on the floor and you can have different kinds of components and you could look at those, but you were seeing the actual room you're standing in, right? So that it eliminates, right? It eliminates that motion sickness, but it also makes you aware of your surroundings, right? So you can actually see it. People come to your view, hey, Sam, what's going on? You can see that person because they'll essentially walk through the artifact you're looking at, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So mixed reality is those things combined. It's components of a VR space, but AR components to it. That's why the Vision, this thing, has a visor you can see through because it's trying to do both. And so it's trying to hit both because there's limitations to AR and VR.
Yes.
So this is $3,500. And I will tell you what I find interesting about this product is it's the only product I've ever seen that was talked about on regular terrestrial news media.
Yes.
It was on to Today. It was talked about in Google's had devices. Microsoft has had HoloLenses, This is not a new thing. And you never hear about it in normal human beings are getting ready to go to work and are eating their cereal at their desk. And they see this thing on a newscast. Apple can do that. And essentially, they're looking at this, and what Apple can only do this. You could buy a PS4 dev kit; they exist. You can spend $5,000 and buy a dev kit if you really wanted to, and write code for it and write games, right?
Yeah.
Apple is doing something here that is phenomenal, which is they're showing consumers a dev kit, and nowhere in this presentation did they say what this is. They're telling them, you want to buy it for $3,500, you can. Nobody's going to because it's going to be an empty platform. It's a development kit.
Yeah.
Right. That's why it's so big on the news because they're not promoting it as a dev kit. Right.
Right. Yeah. Because people they're basically not telling people what this is. What they're doing is they're creating a buzz about it because they're going to make a consumer facing once this dev kit has software written for it. And here's the thing I will tell you. Hardware doesn't mean anything unless there's software on it.
Right.
Yes.
Like Windows Phone can tell you that, right? So that's the reason why HoloLens isn't available, right? It's because there's not an application. It's really not for gaming. It's a productivity tool. But who's using that? You're not
Can I ask
using
you something,
that.
Sam? Can I ask you something? So I was reading a few things about the visor, and I've been told, but I shouldn't be what I'm told. What I've read was it's actually not pass through. You can't see through it. It uses cameras to pass through to your eyes with the screen what you're seeing. But and for $3,500, you think I thought for sure that was like a see-through screen, like when it's not in VR, you're going to be able to see through. It's actually not. It's actually closed off.
It's projected, but it's going to have AR components.
Right. We're just seeing like the reflection of the screen. So when it's actually an AR, you're just seeing like reflections. But the like I was talking about with Meta, whatever the third version is. They don't have any of that glass at all, but they have 3 cameras in the front that lets you pass through in 100% color now. So you won't see the eyes, but you can still see your world in color. So it's very similar. I get it. The hardware is going to be totally different for the same price, but
so mixed reality is not something that just Apple came up with. That's actually industry. That's
correct.
Right. It's not that they just come up with that term, right? That's not just manufactured for an Apple buzzword, right?
Right.
So I will tell you that the only thing I think is great. I don't see this having really any application, right? So it's a Mac basically, right? So if it's using its own kernel, right, its own OS, right, you're not going to use it for anything business related. It's not a productivity device, and it really isn't gaming centric. So my question is, I don't know what it is. That's the problem. Is neither does Apple. What Apple's doing is going to put it out there. It's hoping that the consumers will decide what it is. Right? Remember what we talked about? Remember the Segway? Remember that thing? That was going to revolutionize personal locomotion. Right? You were going to be able, and nobody used it because it didn't have any practical. You could ride a car, you could walk. You got those jetways. Right? There was no reason to have a Segway, and also it cost prohibitive. So my question is, HoloLens you can use it for business. Nobody's going to use this in an enterprise space. It's running Mac. Nobody uses that. The government, United States government, every server you ever know, we're in that same problem. It's for publication people, it's for graphic design, but that's the only place that a Mac lives in a non-consumer space. Period. End of story.
There might be one use for it.
And if you're going to watch Netflix, why would you watch Netflix like this? It's
right.
heavy, it's bulky. Who watches reason to do that? And it's
right.
2 hours. It's like, again, I'm trying to find where this niche is. I don't even think Apple really knows where this is. And
well,
trying to create a segment.
A Quest, you can watch videos on YouTube and Netflix and Hulu. And I've never honestly have watched a full video in a VR headset. It's just not comfortable.
I will tell you what I did do once, which I thought was cool, is I had a Note 5. And I had that Google Cardboard.
Yes.
Yes. So
yes.
What was cool was they had one thing where it was a sketch in Saturday Night Live, and you were sitting essentially in the audience, like you'd be at 30 Rock, right? And you could kind of look around and see behind the other. You could see the set, right? It was like you were sitting there on set. It was totally cool. And I thought that was kind of neat. And it gave you, but I mean, once I watched that video a couple of times, I'm like, okay, it sat there and collected dust, and I wasn't gaming with it. It wasn't that. It was okay, and it was cool, but it's a novelty, and so I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. I think clearly at $3,500, this is not something that nobody's going to really buy, and I don't think Apple is really.
Well, Darren might agree
selling it.
That Roddy might be able to utilize this for a certain
for
certain fan page that he uses. Yeah. I'm not saying anything in particular, but.
Listen, I'll just say this much, Sam, just to touch. I know you mentioned the Google Cardboard, so you can buy the Google made.
They don't make them anymore. They're not supported anymore, though. They're open source now.
You can buy them for $19.
Right.
$19. So $3,500.
Yeah, I know. But Gear VR was great when Samsung had it. When they released it with some of their phones, it was amazing. It had one controller, it had some cool stuff, and it was like $50. You know, it was crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
where I see this really being leveraged is in spaces where you want to like have an immersive if you're watching something, or if I want to experience what it would be like to be on a roller coaster, or I'm walking around the streets of London or Barcelona or something like that. It really has more of that vibe. Like I really don't know what they're going to do with it. Gaming, yeah, sure, but with a 2-hour battery life. Who knows? Again, they'll come up with something that's consumer facing that maybe is $2,000 or $1,800, and it's a little weird. I don't really. It's a little disconcerting looking at that because
it's so creepy. Look at that picture. I'm sorry.
Again, but I mean, we're trying to push the boundaries of transformative technology, right? So we don't really know what the future is going to look like in 25, 50, 100 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fascinating, but again, I'll just wait to be seen. I'm glad there's buzz about it, but it's funny how Apple can leverage getting it on major news publications where no other company could do that with any kind of technology headset like this, especially a dev kit. A dev kit, it's what you're selling. It's like, okay,
I'm going to be honest with you, Sam. I have actually some breaking news here because I've actually had some hands-on time with version 2 and 3 of the Vision Pro.
No.
So this is a TNT exclusive product here. Here is actually version 2 and 3 of the Vision Pro. So, really impressive stuff.
Wow. Very immersive.
Come in different colors, like classic silver and gold, Apple style. One more
is it rose gold or is it just straight gold?
I don't know. I think that's more, it's a bit of both, like they like to blend the gold colors.
Do the bedazzled suits come with them?
I don't know. Maybe that's a special Apple Store, exclusive.
That's a launch exclusive.
That's the battery. That's the solar battery, right? The solar battery you wear when you're walking around.
Yeah,
it's nice.
But I mean, I tell you what, and I know right now, like if for those of you who are fitness and smartwatch inclined, right now there's a big push for solar technology. Now, just imagine for a second looking at the Vision Pro. What if they were to take the Vision Pro and turn the glass into solar glass that actually could charge it while you were functioning?
I don't know if that'd be enough. I mean, you got to have so much surface area and stuff.
Just saying, future technology where it might go.
Right.
I mean, there's lots of things they can do with this. And again, this is a Gen 1 product. 5 people will buy it. They'll love it. people that have too much money will buy it, and that'll be the ultimate flex, and that's going to be really how it sells.
And I agree with Sam too. It's pushing the boundaries. We have Oculus, we have HTC, we have Valve, all these companies making these headsets, but this is a little different, and they're going to push the boundaries, and all these companies are going to play catch up. I think the only person that really is close is Meta right now with the third version, with that color pass through, and having upgraded internals. I'm a big fan of theirs because privacy wise, you can have what issues you want, but VR wise, they're untouchable. You can have it self walking around the room, or you can plug it to a computer and have that much more, power behind it. So anyways, we'll move on to the next person.
So Roddy, how much porn are you going to watch on your Vision Pro? Like just you're going to be plugged in permanently, aren't you, buddy?
I was going to say for $3,500, that's a lot of feet pics. So
yeah.
No, I was super harsh on this. Whenever I saw it, me and King kind of went back and forth on it because I was just like, it's another headset or whatever. I've probably watched like 20 to 25 videos of different people talking about this. And, it's kind of impressive. It's also, I'm with Sam, like, I've asked several people that are diehard Apple iPhone, they're in the ecosystem. They've been in it for years. They're never going to leave. They make fun of Android phone. And I'm like, are you going to get one of those? And they're like, what would I use it for? And I think that's the thing is like, and no one knows. For me, I just started like trying to imagine, one practical use might be, maybe it's used like in schools, maybe, you have like virtual classrooms and stuff like that. You could do that kind of stuff and, bring this picture in and things. My mom was a teacher. She used to have one of those smart board things, and it was pretty cool for her to use that. I could see stuff like that being done with it, but I'm with Sam. I think it's just kind of right now, it's a novelty item. It's just something that people are going to use for entertainment, for fun, that can spend the money on it. And it's a developer device. They're hoping I think Apple's hoping that people are going to be like jumping in this space. I mean, Elon's talked about it being the next frontier of where we're going, besides he wants to go to space, but he thinks, VR is where, a lot of stuff is going to go. Meta's there. So I think Apple's saying, hey, let's push this. What else do we have to lose? They're not creating a new iPhone because those have looked the same for the last 10 years. They're not coming out with a foldable device. I don't think that they are all gung-ho on that.
Roddy, I'll just jump in. It's funny that you say that because I'm a little bit shocked that they released this before a folding device. I thought this would come after.
Or with.
Along, yeah. The reason being, I think, if Apple really wanted to show everybody, hey, we're not a stagnant fucking, same design company for the last however many years, let's show them something new.
I don't think they're sold on it.
I don't think so either. I actually think Apple, I know, Sam, we talk about the Duo a lot, but I actually think Apple might go the other way just to say fuck you to all these companies that are making folding devices and maybe do a dual screen device.
Well, and they got the clout, they got the money. Like we talked about, Roddy keeps saying this is a dev kit. Sam keeps saying a dev kit for this Vision Pro, which it is, but they don't say that. In that whole entire speech, they talk, it's a product. You can buy it next year. It does not say, hey, don't buy this if you're a consumer, because they don't want to do that. They want to keep it open. I think foldable phones, it is interesting you brought that up because I think they could definitely make one. Yes. But I think this is their, hey, we got another thing. Kind of like when the iPhone first came out and the iPad first came out. They haven't had a, hey, here we go. But unfortunately, this device is just like, I shouldn't say just like, almost like things that are already out. While technologically very advanced, it doesn't make much sense because they could have dominated the folding scene in a heartbeat if they released one. And if they're and from what I understand, Tim Cook, and if you watch MKBHD or any of those guys, he's not a Steve Jobs. He's a marketing guy. He's a let's get numbers out there, let's make money kind of guy. So it's very surprising that he would release this. But I got a feeling that this is one of those things that us and the tech team have been talking about for what, 3 years, 4 years. And so he's like, let's just push it. I just read an article somewhere recently saying like one of the lead guys involved with this didn't even watch the stream because he wasn't ready for it to be released yet. Like it wasn't ready yet. He wanted to wait a little longer to iron out more things. But, we didn't get a chance to really look at it. MKBSD said what he thought. Yeah, the eye tracking was fantastic. The vision's great. But what's it for? So I know I keep jumping in, but I just feel like Apple, while there are they got too much money, maybe they need to spend money on
experimenting. Let's fucking throw everything.
I mean, Google has too much money. They throw things at the wall and see what sticks, and we all feel the repercussions of that. Apple's more like let's do a timed release kind of thing. I don't think they'll make a foldable phone in the next couple of years. Maybe they'll just focus more on this. I don't know.
Well, and Roddy, sorry, I know you want to jump in here, but maybe what Apple's doing here is pivoting around the fold.
Right.
And saying, this is really where shit's going. This is the future, not that. And I mean, that might be what their approach is. Maybe that's what they're trying to do is say, hey, we really love the idea of foldables, but we just don't think we could pull it off the way we would want to do it. Let's look at the other emerging industry, which is VR and immersive, computing, and kind of say, hey, we can do a really good job with this. We'll put out an experimental product, drum up some interest. And if it really takes off, again, this could be huge for Apple.
Yeah, but
this can't replace an iPhone, and so that's the problem.
Exactly.
First of all, it's not. And your iPhone is portable. This is not.
It's a business.
2-hour battery light's not going to get it, and it's too. Now, if this technology gets totally, Google Glassed or make it minimized or minimal power or draw or something else. But I mean, to have this replace an actual cell phone, a foldable or a folding phone gives you another mobile computing lifestyle device. This is not that thing. So this is not going to now in your home. It might replace some communication device, but who's going to go to this instead of just picking up your phone and doing that? I just don't.
I think the huge advantage of it that some people kind of missed was, Apple announced their gaming mode, and they announced like they're upgrading so that games can be easily brought from Windows to Mac OS. This has an M2 chip in it. So if you develop a game for a Mac, any game that you've ported over for the Mac can be pretty easily brought into this interface. If you think about it on the other side, you have to develop for Windows, you have to develop for Quest, you have to develop for Android. So if Samsung were to drop a headset, developers are going to have to develop for Samsung phones on Android.
How many games are developed for Apple? Honestly. There's no AAA games. There's no triple games. It doesn't matter. There's no triple games developed for Apple right now.
I completely disagree because
I agree.
There's already people.
Quest has Android.
This, though.
Android's got
there's already
games.
people doing this though. There's
they
already
can do it right now, but
literally overnight
is too much.
upgraded their games to work on Apple Silicon. And so the thing is, what you don't have with other companies is it's easier to develop for one operating system. It's going to cost you more to develop for multiple. And the disadvantage that Quest has is they have to get all these laptop developers on board to support the whole output.
But they already have that.
Make the app work. Where with Apple's headset, you look at any of your Macs and it syncs up.
Roddy,
it's crap though. I've used the Quest 2 and tried to hook it up. I hooked it up to a $3,500 Windows laptop and it was crap using the Quest version of
I've never had a problem. I hook my Quest 2 to my desktop, and I play Steam VR.
That's what I'm saying.
So I play everything. It's great.
It's
fantastic for me.
So that's going to be the problem. They don't control both sides of it.
Roddy, sorry, Roddy. I know we got you off there, buddy. What were you going to say there, Roddy?
I was going to say Michael Pepper is correct, and we don't normally agree on stuff. So
the ecosystem side of it is.
It's the ecosystem, and I think that is their play, is they're looking at ways to make money. And if you have to buy apps and download apps and get part of another OS, you have just like you have certain things for iPad OS, certain things for iOS, certain things for Mac OS. I mean, I can't stand that, but Apple is looking at ways how they can make money off of this. And I think, you look at how big subscriptions are. And if you have certain subscriptions on this this whatever they're calling it OS. I don't know what they're calling it, but if you're having to purchase a separate app for that, or you're having to spend more money to use the headset for certain things, people will do it. They'll buy it. They'll pay $20 a month.
And that's not what I was saying. If people have a MacBook, if you have a MacBook, an iPhone, an iPad, and you have Apple Arcade and Apple Music, this is perfect for you. That's great. It's ecosystem friendly. All I'm saying is, you say Samsung, Quest, all those products are based on Android. So porting an Android device to the Android device is fine. I know Michael's saying I've had issues plug it into a laptop. That's been day one with all VR headsets, but I mean, I've never had that significant issue with mine, except for updates, because once you get an update, you got to wait a little bit. But ecosystem wise, it's fine. But I would imagine Samsung with their XR, they're going to make sure it may not be 100% like Apple does, but they're going to make sure it works with their tablets, their phones, their software, their One UI, and they're going to have experiences just like the Gear VR that was specific only to the Gear VR when it came out. That wasn't even open to what Steam had their own VR headset. I mean, I'm not trying to be disagreement. I'm just saying, gaming wise, Apple has never been in the gaming scene for a while. Yes, they've had some recent updates which should help them and should open the floodgates. But right now, gaming is not what Apple's here for. The Apple Arcade
I don't think it's so much necessarily gaming as it is everything else, because it's like,
exactly.
What do they get? Like 3 cents for every download, whether it's free or you pay for it or whatever. I don't remember what it is. They get a dumb amount.
3.3.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Whatever it is. That's my point. It is, if you've got Instagram on everything else, and you have to create Instagram for this, and you have to download it for this OS, it's just more money for them. And I think that's the thing. And I think that's why they put it out. They want people to get excited about it, which we have. They want people to talk about it. It's going to be a great piece of hardware, because they always make great hardware, and their experience is going to be, it's going to be typical Apple stuff. But I think that's really where they're going, is they just want to create this device. So they've got another system that you've got to create, you've got to download, and they just want you. It's just another way for them to reel you in and get caught up. And it's no different than anything else. Just because you have a certain app on an iPhone, you have to re-download and re-sign in, and it doesn't cross over to an Android. I think they're just trying to look for ways to continuously suck people in.
So let me ask you this. With Google's latest version of Android, they made it more available to folding phones and tablets, correct? So they're trying to make it convenient across. So how long is Apple going to take to develop a VR OS to catch up? They had what was it called with the Google Cardboard? And Dream, what was it called? Their Daydream.
Yeah.
And I don't think it had a separate OS. It was just another layer, maybe. Well, how long do you think it's going to take till they make Android 15? That's going to have the AR and the VR, which they already. I mean, I know they're working with Samsung pretty exclusively with this stuff, so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. But I don't think. Yeah. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, no, I'm just going to say, Sam. I'm just going to touch on what you said, Sam. I think it's a very confusing product, because again, like you said, it's not a gaming device necessarily, and it's not really a productivity device. It's not an entertainment device. It's kind of like a weird blend of a little bit of each. Right. And I think it's a bit of an identity crisis.
I believe it's none of those. And that's the problem and then here's the thing is, I just saw on that last. Can you go back to that last slide that you were just on, or actually the one before that's the AR where they're layering on top. There's the one where it shows the FaceTime where ladies stand there with a conference
this
call.
One, the images on the screen. This one.
No, the one right before that. That.
I have no idea which fucking picture it was.
It was a lady standing in a room, and it looked like a bedroom, and it had three people on the far wall. That was
this one here.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you something. So talk about FaceTime becoming spatial. That's fine, and then even more app experiences. Here's the thing.
Yeah,
this headset is not needed to do any of that currently.
No.
You don't need that. And the problem is you need to have the cell phone replaced your house phone. That's why there's no fucking house phone. iPod replaced CDs and physical media, right? Now it's gone. This isn't going to replace anything. You don't have to use this. And the only way that's the Segway analogy, right? You didn't have to use a Segway. You could just walk places. You can have tramways. You can get in a car, ride a bike, get rollerblades. There was like a dozen other ways to get around places. The Segway it didn't solve any problem. This isn't solving a communication problem.
Right.
You can already do that now.
Well, look at Meta.
For $500.
Well, look at Meta. They're trying to push like that virtual. Let's all talk, and it's not selling. No one's buying.
I understand that, but again, this solves no workflow issues. It just doesn't land anywhere. It's not a productivity device. It's not an enterprise device. Nobody in government is going to use this. Nobody in a development space. Right? No coders, IT developers, AWS cloud protection. None of that is going to be using this device. It's not for that. It's literally a novelty, and it's going to be as cool as it is, and then you're going to put it on a shelf, and they're going to come up with something else. It's too heavy. It doesn't have enough battery. It's too bulky, and it costs way too much money. So until Apple can, and it also, go ahead.
People thought the same thing with the first iPhone and the first Apple Watch and the first MacBook and the first all these products. They were expensive. The watch, they were heavy. The battery life, it didn't bring anything new.
Right.
Like what nobody did those things no other company
a CD.
Doing?
Everybody has a watch. And they still have a watch, and people still buy non-smartwatches. They literally buy a Rolex. Rolex doesn't make a smartwatch. What I'm telling you is it's not replacing anything. Yeah. You don't need to do this. You don't have to have this. You can watch Netflix on your fucking 80-inch TV with surround sound speakers. You can go to a movie theater. This thing doesn't make this. Well, I couldn't do that before, but now this allows me to do that thing.
Exactly. Right.
This doesn't do any of that. And that's why HoloLens doesn't work. That's why Vive is not a big thing. Because if people are going to game, that's why PS4, PS5 still crushes this for gaming. Nobody who's using this is going, man, I love playing Ghost of Tsushima, but man, if I could do it in a headset and swing a sword around, that would make my life. Nobody's doing that. It's a problem looking for a solution, and it's not. It's just not a thing. That's
if
why
any company could do it. If any company could do it, Apple could. That's why they're swinging for the fence.
Apple won't, and this is not going to succeed unless they can find a way to replace it.
Right now, where I see a problem in those examples of gaming is typically, for a lot of people, it's a social experience, right? Like you might sit down with your wife and play a game together, or you're going to game with somebody online, or you're playing against another character or whatever. With these VR headsets, it's very hard to demo. I can't plug in a Quest headset, put it on. My wife plugs on a Quest headset, and ours sync up, and we are playing the same game easily. So I think that's some of the.
I mean, you could if you could find a way to have like a Mario Party kind of thing where everybody can enjoy a shared headset experience. Again, that would maybe itch one little nugget, but I don't think that's compelling enough to really. Again, this doesn't replace anything you can't do, and that's why Segway failed. Because why would anybody buy that? It was cool. I used one. It was neat. You can run around and go backwards and forwards, and it's kind of cool. But it's but you're gonna buy one for $1,800? No, I'll just walk places, right? And also, it's hard to use. It doesn't go everywhere. You can't take it into a store. It just it didn't. The iPhone transformed not only call making, but literally mobile computing on the fly. It literally revolutionized, and that destroyed CDs, DVDs. I mean, it destroyed all of it. It just destroyed it. Nobody uses a calculator anymore. Everybody's got an iPhone. I mean, it literally destroyed a dozen things that have been around for hundreds of years. It just killed all of it in less than a generation.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's this isn't going to do any of that ever.
If you think about the original iPhone, though, it didn't have an app store. You could only run web apps. You could only run the apps that Apple put on there. It was it was an iPod, so you had to have iTunes to load your music. It was, internet communicator, but you had to have AT&T carrier because they were basically AT&T is your carrier because they were the original. There was a lot of limitations on it too. And then you think about how that adapted over time. And we say, oh, these products have been out for a while. Yeah, but there hasn't been competition. There's been stages of it, but nothing at the end of including everything, not just a basic, oh, here's a cheap and you can only have the apps that are available on it. At the extent of here's high quality, here's being able to connect up to your computer, here's being able to do all these things. The Quest Pro just came out. The HTC, they're high end. They're just announcing now. So I think now that there's more competition, when that happens, you see it pushed forward. And so just because Apple's doing it doesn't mean it's anything new, but having them in the competition, we've seen this happen, pushes things forward. I mean, we're seeing within Stage Manager, what did Samsung do with DeX? They opened up Good Lock. As soon as Stage Manager was announced, they're like, oh, we're now supporting up to 4K, and we're supporting more than 4 apps on the screen at the same time, and we're doing this and that. Even Google Android 14 got some features that were in iOS, and iOS is now getting features. So we think like, okay, it doesn't have a purpose right now. Don't release it, or it hasn't been done well for other companies. But the other companies aren't even doing this yet. They're doing.
Well, we already said that, Michael. We already said that.
By, but I mean, but no, Microsoft's been doing this for They've been doing this for 10 years, right? And they sold millions of them to DoD.
Yeah,
they literally have had HoloLens. They were going to have a third generation. Nobody's even heard of the damn thing. Ask 100 people if they know what HoloLens is, and you might get 5 people that have ever heard of it. It's comparing apples to missiles. It's like, yeah, I understand that, but it's more competition in the space. But this space, at least the HoloLens checked a productivity box. You could use that. It had Windows apps. I used the HoloLens. I'm telling you, I could see like, okay, gaming, this is not a thing. It doesn't really matter. You can't really watch movies on it. But man, in an office setting, if you're trying to do multiple work, but the problem is you ever wore a HoloLens? After 15 minutes, it's too heavy. Your neck hurts. It's bulky. It's just like, I just take this fucking thing off my head, right? Again, nobody's going to sit here unless I cannot imagine a scenario where you're going to sit there with your wife, having popcorn, having your dog there, right? And sitting at the movie theater at your chair, ready to watch a movie. And you're going to put these two things on. And you and your wife are going to sit there and wear these headsets sitting side by side when you can already just have a projection, 50-inch, 80-inch LG. It doesn't replace that.
At least not right now. At least not right now.
Yeah.
Maybe in 20 years, maybe. I mean, maybe. And let's push all the software. I hope Apple pushes all the things and devs get behind it.
Right.
And maybe Apple's the one that finally gets market traction where now people have heard it and go, hey, I don't know. This vision thing's cool. If they came up with a better one, maybe we can do it and make it minimal and smaller and better, iterative, right?
Look,
make the battery better. Make it not as heavy. Make it not as bulky. Maybe it can be portable. Maybe you can wear a small little battery pack with it in a purse, and you can make it mobile for your.
Can we go back to the red and blue glasses and just go see a 3D movie at the theater?
Yeah, seriously.
One of the things Roddy mentioned earlier, though, that he touched on, and he mentioned, it's a new way for people to pay subscriptions. I actually have a counter to that. I think it's actually the opposite in a way, because you think about like how Apple made it where on your Mac you can get iPhone and iPad apps, so you don't have to pay for the app again. Like I have LumaFusion, I put it on my Mac, and like LumaFusion on my Mac, it's obviously it's not getting full of it, but like I can use keyboard shortcuts, right? I get the advantage of an interface separate from a touch interface. Some of the game developers, if you still get the advantage of hooking up a controller, but you get the advantage of a larger display. There's interfaces that they're interfacing with. Developers with one click can make it available as an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac app. And then I think the next will be where like right now, if I pick up a Quest 2 and I buy something on there, and then all of a sudden, like I can't use the Quest 2 anymore because I don't know, I'm having problems with it or whatever. I just paid all that money and I don't have access to it. The opposite holds true with if you have the Quest 1 or Quest 3, you can upgrade. It can cross over. I have the Quest 1 and the Quest 2. All my games are the Quest 1 with the Quest 2. But I can't be like I bought some game on the Quest and now I'm going to play it on my Android phone because, where like if I buy, let's say somebody buys this headset and they want to test it out. They can load up apps that are available that were available on your phone. Maybe you paid for it, gets ported over. Doesn't work out, you didn't pay extra for that, and all of a sudden you're returning it and you lost the advantage of the ecosystem with like iOS to iPad OS to Mac OS is there. So when you have like Quest running its own OS, Android phones running their own OS, computers running their own thing, the only way I could see that happen would be Google, like Chromebooks becoming more, you run a Chromebook, you run an Android phone, you run an Android tablet, and you run some like headset that runs a version of Chrome OS that's Android interface, and so you buy an app on your Android phone and you can load it up on any of those other things. And we're getting there, and like Windows 11 brought in Android for Windows, but it's still it's not as full. It's not as like one click. Like I could develop it. Like if I got into coding, I could make an app that's you know, Roddy's OnlyFans app, and I could make it available on an iPhone, and I could with one click make it available as an iPad app, a Mac app, and a Vision app. Where I'd have to make an Android app, a Windows app, and a Quest app. So,
well, Mike, I'll just cut you off for a second. So we were talking about the creepy eye thing here, and I just had this horrible realization that if you were watching porn and someone came up to you and the eyes activated, they would see your O face, and I think that's fucking.
Well, no, not your O face, just your O eyes. Your O eyes.
No one has talked about that potentially being an issue, and I think they look how creepy this is. When I don't know if you see the footage on screen there, but when she walks in, the eyes activate.
That is weird.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
like,
yeah, there's an intent of looking between though. Like it doesn't just do it because somebody walks up to you. There's that intent. Yeah. It's like
I'll be honest.
It's like my headset doesn't just like my AirPods don't just unmute and go into transparency mode because my wife started talking to me. Thank God, because that would be horrible sometimes. Or my son started talking to me or whatever.
Like Google Glass. Google Glass, when I had them, you know, you glanced up to see the little screen right above your eye.
Yes.
And people were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm looking at a notification. Like, you have to tell them. Google Glass is way before its time. I think this category kind of fits that same, obviously way too much. Same with Google Glass. It was like $1,000 when it came out. I believe it's going to push everything forward. I just don't think it's what we need. I mean, it's not something the general consumer needs right now. I'm with Sam on that. I think it's going to push things down the road.
And that's Apple's marketing push. They're hoping to find a way to develop a need. That way it will drive sales and drive interest in that kind of thing. They're hoping to replace.
I mean, you're not going to replace your Mac with it either because you can't like for example, I can't do what I'm doing right now. Can you I can't hook up my camera through a dock to it.
No, that AI version of you.
I could show the fake version of me potentially.
Right.
I mean, that's going to be an API, and they already said like there's been mention of like Zoom could use that and some stuff. Like they're already using like when I use my iPhone as a camera with my MacBook, there's the Zoom version. Zoom's app is coming to the Apple TV, and Teams app is coming. The one thing I don't know if you guys saw that that Apple's making, apparently they're allowing people to apply as developers, and there's going to be a developer offering in July. And some people are like, well, it's just going to be the software. No, it looks like it's actually going to be hardware, because when you go in through like the dev accounts, it shows the Apple Vision. It says available July dev kit. So I was just surprised they didn't mention that at the event, but maybe they were waiting a little bit to get like the final FCC approval. Like, remember when they did the Apple Watch, and then they had the guy from like the FDA came the same day and it was like, yeah, it got approved today. Well, they probably couldn't do that with the FCC. They probably couldn't be like, we hope it gets. So now they can be like, oh, well, July we can get. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, it's definitely not a replacement for everything. And like, it's not supposed to be though. I don't think. I mean, realistically, I can use my Android phone as a computer, but it doesn't replace it entirely, right? No one piece of technology entirely replaces.
I have one question. Talking about AI generated photos, I feel like Delvon is AI generated because he's watching something way more interesting than us. Because I can have flashing on his glasses, and it's got to be a hell of a lot better than what we're watching right now.
Hey, you editing some photos
right now, Delvon? What's going on, buddy?
Editing videos, editing photos, working on something over there.
No.
Fast X. You watching Fast X?
I was actually watching y'all. I was just sitting here looking at y'all up here.
I'm just messing with you.
Delvon, what are your thoughts on this Vision Pro? I know we've had everyone chime in here, but I know you're really big into design and stuff like that. So could you use it?
Let's say this. I got 4 VR headsets in here right now. I love VR. There's a little bit of AR inside my Oculus Quest 2, just a little bit, not too much or whatever. So I think what Apple did is going to push AR further into the future, but what they created isn't it. It's just like the door. The Vision Pro opens the door for people to take advantage of that and create better AR technology. Because just like y'all said earlier, Google came up with the perfect vision of what AR should be with the glasses. That's kind of how I see it. And until, we get there, I really don't want to put on a headset to go into AR. That's to me, that's VR. It's like this. You either want Ready Player One, which I do. I definitely want to put on a headset, go into go into the Oasis and just live this virtual life, right? And then when it comes to AR technology, I want what we get with Iron Man. Literally, how he just walks up to his desk and he just started doing this stuff like that and everything like that. And now I know that we're not going to get that type of technology just out of nowhere without having some type of thing that's connected to it. But, even with Minority Report, they use gloves. And, even if there was that, I'm fine with that. But putting on a headset, it's not it. But again, I'm interested in the headset. I definitely want to try it. I think it's going to be dope. It's going to be fun as far as like interacting with things. But I'm a VR person. I want games. I want controllers. I want to be in a virtual reality world. I want to do crazy stuff and, feel like I'm actually there, just like the Oasis. AR is just like me still sitting in my living room looking at stuff and computing. And I can't see myself computing for that long. So if I ever did try Vision Pro, I would probably watch movies more than anything on that.
That's what I think I would use it for too.
Yeah. Okay. There's six people here. I can't count for. I don't know if Sam will jump in.
I will not get it at all.
Okay, of you 5, who will get this thing first? That's my question.
I'm not buying it. I'm going to be honest with you.
I thought you threw some stuff out there on Twitter. You were thinking about it.
No, don't lie. Don't lie. Listen, if I cannot swallow myself spending $3,500 to have an AR headset, and then I'm going to use it the first week, probably like incredibly for hours and hours and hours, right? Then eventually it's going to be just sitting there. Because one is launching with no really fun apps to do. Because how much computing if you think about it, how much computing do you do in front of your computer half of the time versus trying to put a headset on that's uncomfortable? First of all, I got glasses, so these headsets don't have the little eye doctor in there for me to change my vision when I take these off. So they always get uncomfortable for me. So me trying to compute with that thing for hours, it's not going to work. Even with my headsets that I currently have, it's the same situation. But I put them on and have a good play session at 3 or 4 hours and have a good time playing Beat Saber or scary games or whatever, and then I take it off. The Vision Pro is a computer. That's the direction that they were trying to go in, at least what they presented to us. And why would I take my PlayStation controller and use the Vision Pro as a big screen to flash in front of me to play my video game when I got a 55-inch TV that I could just sit comfortably in front of? Again, something else that y'all mentioned earlier is like, what if you and your spouse, like me and my wife, we watch movies together? We would look goofy with these big giant headsets on to go watch the same movie and probably can't even connect together at the moment currently and watching a movie. I would rather have like glasses on. Oh, babe, let's go watch a movie in 3D. Okay, and we both slip these AR glasses on, Google, just say Google Glasses for instance, and slip those on and just sit here and watch a movie together. That is way better than some big bulky headset. So
you made a good point too, because like I wear glasses, but I have a really unique prescription where I can't just throw on any. You guys ever heard of a prism? Like my eyes are directed to look forward, and there ain't no lens company that's going to make one for a VR headset. There's not. Yeah. Most VR headsets I've used, I have the Quest 2, work fine with my glasses, and they have fillers. No. It's just going to be for $3,500. It's just not going to work for me.
What I really want to see, and I'm sure I'll be dead in the ground before this ever happens because it's going to take a while. It's neural interface and ocular interface, where you'll basically put something on and it'll actually interface to you. I mean, that's the vision of this. This is just an external piece of hardware you put on your head. That that's the near future. That might be 50 years, 100 years from now. But that's where I see that this is where it's going to happen. Elon's Neuralink or something like that, where it's going to use, because remember, a lot of people can't be in VR because of that disconnection. Most disconnection with your brain has to be able to see what's happening. And if there's any lag at all, zero, people get sick. VR can't be used. That's another reason why I think this is going to be a problem too, is I don't think they realize everybody can use an iPhone. There are significant populations that cannot use VR because it makes them physically ill.
Yeah.
Well,
I just the cost of VR is $500. So if you're going to buy a gaming system, $500 is if you're okay with it, it's an entry level price. And $500 is a totally different ball game.
If this Vision Pro was $500, I would not buy it.
Yes, and that's fine.
Because it's not going to get
$500 maybe.
I'm telling you, it's not going to get the use you think it is.
If somebody had, somebody could give me one for $500, if somebody could give me one for $500, I'd buy 10 of them, and I'd wait tax season next year, and I'd buy 10 of them, and then I'd turn around and sell them for double that, and still make coin because that's cheaper than what Apple's going to sell them for.
I mean, that's true, but I believe I'm with you, Sam. I don't think that I'm going to get much use out of it, even at $500. But I can actually justify that price over $1,500. I mean,
exactly
$3,500 sitting around.
And here's the thing: do you think there's really at some point with as much development and R&D and hardware and software development that this thing's going to need to get this as a usable consumer product? Do you ever envision that this is possibly going to be a $500 product?
No,
not
from Apple.
Hell
no. And so I made that point, and I made that price point to literally illustrate what I'm saying. It's never going to get to that point. I think what we're doing is we're trying to push those boundaries on how we can engage. I'll tell you what I would use a VR headset for is I want to go to Roddy's house, but he lives in New Jersey, or he lives in Albuquerque, or he lives in a place that's far, or he's in Europe, right? But what he does is he creates a room where it's like a study where I can actually transport and have dinner with him and totally immersive, right? Yeah, but I can stay in the room and we can have a conversation. It's real time. It's almost like a holodeck, right? But it's interactive that way. I think that's where this kind of technology really can be applicable.
Doesn't Google already have something like that with those big things that
especially they sit for grandparents? Can you imagine you can't see your grandkids because they live in London because their parents are on some kind of 2-year thing, but you can't be with them on the phone and FaceTime, but you can sit in the same room with them and you know what I mean? Right. For people who are older or people who are disconnected from family members, that's what makes this technology work. That's what makes your phones work, because now you can talk.
Yeah, but the problem with that is this giant headset. So this is not this headset would not be for the masses, and
it has to be minimal.
Knows that
glasses or something. Yeah, it's like it's
and Dalvin, that's why, and that's what I was saying. For $3,500, you can go buy this if you want. Oh, come on! And but here's my thing: in September, if you want to upgrade your Quest 2, you can spend $499 and buy a Quest 3 with better internals, better screens, not as good as the Vision Pro, and you can justify the $500 because you're going to play it, 3 times a week or once a week or once a month.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Because it's a game.
I have a Quest 2. I play it maybe once a month, but I can justify the $400, whatever I paid for it, $300. But now for $300, if I'm not playing that damn thing every day, I'm wasting my money. That's my issue.
I had to get rid of my Quest 2 because unfortunately my IPD is 1 millimeter wider than the max that the Quest 2. The Quest 2 goes to 68 and my IPD is, yes, I'm going to say it's 69. But the Quest 3 goes from 54 to 73. So I won't be at the outer range. So I'll be within the range, which really helps too. And then I still have which I'm hoping will work with they should work with the Quest 3 because I have prescription lenses I got, but I have to change one of them out because my one eye is actually now worse than the other. So I got lenses that were halfway in between.
Oh, wow.
Right. Okay.
Because my prescription is like minus 3.25 and minus 3.75. So I just got minus 3.5 because I figured if it's close enough, it's halfway in between. But now that I know they're good, I can just order 2 separate. But that's going to be the other thing with this. So not only would it cost me $3,500, but it's going to cost me another probably $300 to $600 on top to get those Zeiss customized lenses to go in there. Yeah. And then now we don't know this, but people are saying supposedly once you get it fit with lenses, you can't just I can't just pop those out and have my wife put it on with her own. You have to have a special tool.
Yeah, it has to be mapped to your
where my Quest 2, I could pop mine off and she wears glasses, but she doesn't need them. So she could use that.
So it's like a Focals for North. So when they came out, they had to scan their face for the glasses to work before Google bought them out.
Yeah, so basically, I think all this tech is fantastic, and I hope Apple pushes it. And seriously, I want all this stuff but I think a lot of what we really want to see that new transformative tech, I don't think it's in the next 5 years. I really think it's going to take a lot more computing, modular, minimization, development power, and if Apple can throw all their trillions of dollars behind it and everybody else can get on board, that's the only way we're gonna get this to move, because it's got to have some funding on top of the fact that it's got to have some innovation. It's got to have some thought. And somebody's got to throw some bucks behind it and actually push it to the limit. So I'm all in. Let's do it, but it's gonna be a while.
I'll leave it with this idea. So I don't know if you've seen the movie Inception, but in the movie Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio has a line in that movie, and every time when I saw the Vision Pro, this line came to mind. And he says at one point in the movie, once an idea has taken hold of the brain, it's almost impossible to eradicate. Yeah. And I think that's what Apple's doing here. They're letting this simmer. They're letting it kind of like get some attention, let the public pick it up, let the media pick it up. Because once that idea is there, all of a sudden it starts to grow. And it's kind of like anything that a lot of these tech companies create. You don't need it until you've tried it. And when you start seeing all these people trying this out and you get your hands on it at the Apple store or Best Buy or whatever, all of a sudden that becomes like a holy shit, that's awesome. I really want to get that. And before you know it, people start spending the ridiculous amounts of money. Like here in Canada, it's $4,800. $4,800. Is that what the conversion is from American currency to Canadian dollars? Like that's fucking ridiculous.
Will they have an experience at Dollar General for this?
Seriously, I would rather buy
general consumer.
I'd rather buy fucking 300 Google Lens at $19 or whatever it was, and just hand them out to everybody I know and say, just deal with this shit. Because $4,800, like I don't know anybody in like my circle of people that are engaged with me that could afford that.
So Darren will have one. Darren will have one next year. We got it. Thanks, Darren.
Here's the crazy thing: the Blue Book value of our car is about the same price as the Apple Vision.
Yeah, so there you go.
By like $100 more, but with the Blue Book value, you're considering less. You're not considering tax. So once you add the tax to the Apple Vision, it's more than. I mean, mind you, it's a 2012 Impala with like 150,000
I would rather buy a 2012 Impala. I would rather have
Hold on. Roddy drives a Lamborghini because of his OnlyFans, so his Blue Book value is a little bit higher than that.
No.
That's his Blue Balls value. So you got that
in all honesty, if somebody was like, here's $3,500, buy VR, here's what I would do. I would buy the Vive that just is being announced. That's what, $1,500.
That the business-oriented one,
and then I could get and then you could get the Quest Pro. You could get the Quest headset, like their Pro model, and you could get another headset, and I'd still have like $500 left over.
Well, I will tell you one thing before we go,
and then just hook my headset up to that and have that.
One thing about the Quest Pro, Delph, I don't know if you did this or not. The Quest Pro came with controllers that had cameras in them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they were compatible with the Quest 2. Did you? You probably didn't, but did you jump on those controllers?
I didn't. I thought about it, but I didn't. So
I thought about when you were behind your back, you couldn't do anything. But now with the cameras, you might be able to have a little more. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I thought about doing it, but I can't.
And the only thing I'm worried about too is with this Vision Pro is that I don't think that game developers are going to get behind them that much unless Apple pay them, I guess, because there's no controllers. Everything is your hand, and a lot of these games, the immersiveness of the controllers is so much better. Because even with my Quest 2 right now, using my hand gestures and going like this and everything, is annoying already navigating it because you only can do pinching. You can't. It ain't like you can take your pointer finger and touch and interact with stuff. That's why I'm like, I always said this, man. In VR, they need to just have some gloves. Literally some gloves that you put on.
Like in Ready Player One.
2 Nintendo Power Gloves.
Yeah. Yes. Nintendo Power Gloves.
I will say this. There is a document that shows the gestures that Apple's created, and it's more than just those. Like you have zoom gestures, you have like multi-finger.
But it's something new you have to learn.
Like things that.
But
I think the idea with your hand is we've always had our hands. We have those digits. So if they start off that way, forcing it from initial versus like we start off with controllers and then we try to get developers to use our hands, I think is a
Ronnie's hands are going to be busy.
Almost the worst.
And the problem with hands is it's the same thing with with motion. Human beings have to have resistance. There has to be some. Yeah. That's why you have a taptic function on your phone. There has to be something when you're interacting. It has to.
I was about to say that. We lose that with Apple Vision. We don't have no haptics or anything like that. So a glove or controller or something of some sort will really seal the deal of your immersion in AR and VR. If without it, it's just like I seen they showed the butterfly laying on somebody's hand, but they didn't feel it. It's just like their hand is just in
right. And the problem is, in order for the brain to be a perfectly immersive experience, there has to be tactile feedback. It has to, when you touch a object in a virtual space, because it doesn't exist on a shelf, your brain has to equate the touching and the feedback to the thing, or it's going to be disconnected. It won't be real.
He wants the X1. He wants the X1 carbon.
I do. Carbon.
Yeah.
This is a little embarrassing, but I watched that movie for the first time last night.
Oh wow! It's a great.
Wow. It was great. Now it's like this movie is.
Where was it based at? Where was it based at? Where is he from?
Moscow.
I went to the movies to go see that Jake 4 times, bro.
I think the guy's from Ohio, isn't he? I think he's based out of Columbus, Ohio, or something. Isn't it in Columbus, Ohio? Not that I know anything about that place. I'm just guessing.
I'm not even sure where the setting was based in.
I think don't feel bad, Michael. I've never seen the movie.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like he's from, or no, yeah, he's from Ohio because the girl that he meets in there, and then he bumps into her in the real world. It turns out they live like blocks from each other, and she can see the what's the company 101 IOI or whatever. She can see the She can see it from her house and that, but yeah.
I agree.
The one thing I can
think of experience.
The one thing I can think about though that came to mind initially was like mapping for hands. Is I know people that have like grip issues, so they can't use certain like Quest devices, and they can't use some of the controllers that map up with like
you can't phones for everybody though.
And tablets too, because they can't hold their phone like that, so they have to use like the eye tracking sets that track your eyes and then link through Bluetooth to like your iPhone to control. And this having that built in, I think that's kind of the cool advantage. But gloves, I could see mapping gloves up through Bluetooth and adding some of that eventually. But it'll be interesting to see. Definitely, I mean, $3,500. I kind of wonder though if they made it more expensive intentionally. Like in a way, like we want people to be that are buying it to be serious, so that we only get feedback from the people like expecting that higher level of market. It's like a mental thing.
I'm just waiting to see if Delvon pays attention here.
No, Delvon wants the ROG Ally. Come on.
Whoa,
he wants the ROG Ally.
Hey, wait a minute. What? That's the Pixel tablet. What? Are you allowed to be showing us that right now?
I can show you the box.
It's just a box.
Just a box. No, it's just I can show you the box. I can't show you anything else yet. But I just will make one observation. I was talking to Tuna about this.
Have you used it yet?
Really thin. Like
okay,
I don't know if you
that
can
answers
see
that question.
No, I haven't yet. Like still sealed in the box.
Don't make fun of small things.
Yeah, I know. We got issues with this. Delvin, I gotta hit you up later on about that.
Definitely, man. Definitely, you know it.
Yeah. Is it? I know you can't really. Okay, so.
I know he can't talk about it now. Why are you trying to explain it?
I was just wondering. Okay. I was just wondering. Is it shaped in
ROG
like the Google Home Max Hub? Like, is it like that?
It feels like about the same size as a Google Max Hub.
Looks like it too. Yeah,
that's sweet.
I don't. But I was surprised. Actually, I expected the box to be bigger. I don't know why. But I mean, 10 inches, right? That's about 10 inches, right, Roddy? You would know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is it 10 or 11? I thought it was 11 inches.
10.9, isn't it? Or 10.4 or something like that? No, it's 10.9.
Does anybody know the actual order launch date? Is that going to be like June 20th, like the
they said June
and stuff?
They said June 20th, but I'm planning on walking in the store and trying it out first, and then probably walk out with one.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a waiting list for that one. Yeah, you should be able to grab that one right away. Yeah,
I think you should be able to just walk in there and buy it because it's a Pixel tablet. Nobody buying that.
One thing I'll say, and we'll end the show on this today. They sent me a reviewer's guide, and in the reviewer's guide, it gives you like a rundown of all the specs.
Right.
there are a couple of surprises. I won't tell you what they are, but there was a couple of things that caught my attention. Yeah, there's a couple of things that caught my attention in the specs, and I watched the release video, and I don't know if that wasn't mentioned or if some things in there maybe perhaps got shuffled aside. But there are a couple of things that we'll talk about very soon. Are
you acting like there's an embargo or something?
I mean,
I don't get it.
I can guess, but I won't because.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna guess that they're interface things that they didn't mention. I'll just. Well,
there's 1 year free of Roddy's OnlyFans. It was just like a little fucking.
Wow, I'm buying 3 of them.
I know. So I didn't notice that Roddy had
got 6 of them. Did you know that?
Yeah,
I do know that I plan on going into Best Buy and taking a look when it's available.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I don't know if I'll buy it through Best Buy or through Google, because the toss up, if I buy it through Best Buy, I get free protection because I have their Total Tech
warranty, extended warranty,
which you pay like $200 for the year, but you get like discounts on stuff. But I get warranty on everything, and it's more than covered itself. I mean, between my Apple Watch, my iPhone, and my wife's iPhone, that's covering more than $200 worth of AppleCare stuff. But because I can get the 10% for having Google One, you get 10% back.
Yeah, you get money back.
So that might be worth it, but it just depends. It's like, okay, but is the cost of like coverage protection, if it's more than like the $50, I might as well buy it at Best Buy, and ends up costing, and have the assurity of if I drop it or something happens, I can just go in there and get it replaced. So it just depends.
I'm hoping by next week we can talk about this. I don't know when the embargo ends. I'm pretty sure it's sometime next week. But I will have a look at it and take a look at it on our behalf, and we'll kind of see what I think. And I mean, I'm very fortunate that I get to kind of get a little hands-on with it early. I was planning on ordering it anyway, so it's nice that I can give it a shot. But yeah, a very exciting time in tech, guys, between new devices and Vision Pros and all of these exciting AR, VR, and everything in between, kind of futuristic tech products that are heading our way. 2023 has been a great year so far for tech. Like, we've had some really interesting releases. So let's see what's going to keep coming. I think everyone's eyes now are on the Z Flip 5 and the Z Fold 5 and the Google Pixel Fold, which hopefully is going to head somewhere to Canada at some point. I don't think I'm getting a hands-on with that one anytime soon, but we will have more great tech to talk about, guys, on next week's edition of the TNT Podcast. Thank you very much, Tuna, Roddy, Sam, Delvon, Mike. Really appreciate you guys coming out and chatting today. And listen, you're watching and listening to the greatest tech podcast there is. And please make sure you like, subscribe, follow. We send out personalized pictures of Roddy signed by him.
OnlyFans.
So at this point, we talk so much about Roddy's OnlyFans. I feel like we should just call it the Roddy's OnlyFans podcast, and we just have like a different special guest every week,
Oh yeah, for sure.
And a magnifying glass, of course.
It's not how big it is; it's what you do with it, right?
That's right.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure the embargo on that lifts next week. The only reason I say that is because I know a couple of people that have their review units that are shipping that should be to them by like Monday. So I'm gonna assume
I think it's the 18th off the top of my head. Yeah.
Right around when they'll do the.
I don't want the Google police to come after me again because they did it the last time with the Pixel 7, so I gotta be careful.
That works for Google, so you better watch it.
I know. Yeah. He's watching.
Got my eye on you. Wait, hold on. Wait, the camera's this way. Got my eye on you.
Yes, I'm sorry. All right. Okay. Well, on that note, guys, have a great weekend. Have a great week, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
All right. Peace.